Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. In this video, we are looking at the NBA slate for Tuesday. We have 5 games today. One marquee game, Milwaukee against Philadelphia. It's going to be a fun one. I'm actually going down to that game. BetMGM hooked me up with a couple of tickets, so I can't wait to see Embiid and Giannis go off in action. But otherwise, let's go ahead and get into the slate. See if we can make money today as well. Yesterday's slate was super high scoring. Wasn't able to come through with a 324 on Draftkings, and Fanduel fell a little bit short, like 375 wasn't even good enough as well. But move on to today. As always, if you enjoy the videos, appreciate it with the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. You can check out all the socials down below. Check out Prize Picks. Use my code PROCESS for deposit match up to $100. Check out the website if you want to join for baseball. And let's get started. So most expensive guy at point guard is Luka Doncic. No surprise. He's 11-4. He's actually been kind of disappointing for fantasy reasons. He hasn't hit value in 4 games in a row, dropping below 55 fantasy points. A couple have been really bad. But going up against the Lakers, who play no defense, there's not going to be LeBron, who's doubtful for this contest after he rolled his ankle pretty bad in the previous game. So I don't mind getting to Luka, but I think I want to prioritize the studs in this Milwaukee-Philly game more than getting up to Luka. Kyrie is 10-8 now that he's playing in Brooklyn. It just takes away a little bit more from Kevin Durant. Occasionally he's going to go off and have these monster games if his shot's falling. The last couple of games been kind of cold shooting. Just 6 of 22 and 4 of 11 against Miami, but tough matchup there. Easy matchup against Charlotte. This one against Detroit, they should just roll Detroit. They're missing Jeremy Grant today as well. We have James Harden at 10-2. We know him and Giannis have a history, but I do prefer getting up to Embiid over Harden. I would rank it Embiid, Giannis, then Harden in terms of the studs in that game. Westbrook might be popular today just because LeBron's not going to play. He's $8,800. He'll probably give you upside in the 50s, but still gives you a low floor. Now, I'm not going to pay $87 for Jrue Holiday. You can't really play Reggie Jackson now that he's kind of being limited. Only played 27 minutes. They said he's limited to 32 minutes, so he's really risky to play, especially against Utah. Not an easy matchup there. Going down in the 5 and 6K range here, 5K range, maybe you can look to like Brunson at 59, but I'd rather get down a bit more to like maybe Malik Monk. Even though he comes off the bench, he still gives you upside, especially without LeBron, one of the few shooters that they have on the team. And then you have Sadaransky at 41. Since he's been inserted into the starting lineup, he's been productive the last couple of games, 24 and 22 fantasy points. He's not just a scoring threat. He's not great with the scoring, but he does give you assist opportunities, and he does get you some rebounds, maybe some defensive stats. So at $4,100, I think he makes sense to plug in. You can even plug him at small forward, depending on if you find another point guard that you like. Over at shooting guard, you have James Harden and Kyrie. I'd rather go Harden over Kyrie, but neither one are priorities for me today. Cade Cunningham does look appealing, but he's almost 9K, so you're not getting any sort of discount on Cade's price. I'd rather get to Chris Middleton. I'd rather get to Zach LaVine. Especially I like Middleton more than Jrue Holiday, saving almost $1,000. In the 4K range, it just kind of drops off pretty big. From 49, you have Kobe White, and then just drops to 42 for Corey Joseph. And maybe Taylor Horton-Tucker will get some more minutes off the bench, but still gives you a pretty low floor. The Lakers still have a lot of bodies that they'll throw out there. They'll still have like Austin Reeves. I'll probably start him today, maybe. He's not been great all year for fantasy purposes. Occasionally have decent games, but a lot of these Lakers guys are just super risky. I like a couple of the cheap ones, but I'm definitely not going to go crazy, and get to like 4 or 5 of them. At small forward, plug in Giannis against Embiid. Him and Embiid will always put up good games against each other. Giannis is averaging 65. He's going into Philly. Should be a very, very fun game to watch, and it should be one that's going to be good for fantasy purposes. Should be played at a pretty decent pace, and it should be looking at a pretty high-scoring game in general. So definitely like Giannis more than Kevin Durant at 11-3. Not really looking at Cade just because he's really expensive. Don't mind getting to Chris Middleton if you wanted to go to a value pick or mid-range option. Don't have much in the 5K range. They're kind of priced up. Denny now, he's 51. 4K range, maybe you can look to like Reggie Bullock. You can look to maybe like Gabriel at 4K if he's starting, but still, like these guys probably give you like 20, 25 point upside. I don't know how much more they'll give you. And then 3K range, Amir Coffey gets decent minutes. Got 37. Still always risky. With the Clippers still like to play a lot of guys, but not that they're limiting Batum and Morris's minutes a bit. Coffey looks like a pretty good value. You can play him at 2 spots as well. Moving on to power forward, your pay up is Kevin Durant. Now LeBron is doubtful, so don't expect LeBron to play unless he magically gets better throughout the day. Porzingis 85 against Chicago should have success against this team, even with a terrible shooting performance last game. He still filled up the stat sheet with rebounding and assisting, even shot just 1 of 6 from 3 and just 28% in general, and he still put up almost 45 fantasy points. You have DeRozan at a good price tag, 83. His price is coming down, but the favorite guy is going to be Marvin Bagley at 56, going to be starting. He's been productive since he's been getting these extra minutes in Detroit. Not like they're a winning team or anything like that, but he's kind of been showing off some of his skills. So good for him. After getting a lot of slack with his days in Sacramento, he's kind of proving that he can at least play at an NBA level. So 56 against a smaller Brooklyn front court, just having to deal with Drummond basically, and they kind of do play small at the 4 if Durant's not playing it. So Bagley should have success getting you some rebounds, and scoring shouldn't really be an issue against that front court. At center, double stack the studs. Giannis, give me Embiid. Battle of the two MVP candidates this year. Two of the best players in the league squaring off. Embiid should just do whatever he wants against like Brook Lopez down low. It will be interesting to see if they decide to put like Giannis on him. Giannis and Embiid defending each other will be fun to watch if they do that at times. But Embiid always typically does well against Giannis. They just go back and forth, seem to have kind of like a rivalry, even though they are good friends. But definitely like getting to both of these superstars today. Leaves us with like 43.25, so we'll have to get some value, and this is where I can get to some of these Lakers pieces like Stanley Johnson. He's $3,300. He's not the best fantasy player, but he still gives you some upside if he's going to be getting minutes, which he probably should today. Up to 30-plus minutes wouldn't be shocking. Gets you some rebound, maybe some assist, some defensive stats, hopefully. All we're looking at is like 20 fantasy points. He does give you upside for like 25 up to 30, depending on how he's playing. So he's definitely one candidate. And then another one that you can double stack a center with, Embiid. Go with one of these value centers here. You have Brook Lopez at 42. And then you have Dwight Howard as well. He is 38. Going up against this Dallas team. You never know how many minutes Frank Vogel will play him, but they're not able to play LeBron at center today. So I'm sure they will go with more Dwight Howard lineups if he gets anywhere from 24 to 30 minutes. Should be productive against like Dwight Powell. So those are the two Lakers value guys I like, Stanley Johnson and Dwight Howard, especially if they're both starting. If they're not, Stanley Johnson should start, but if Howard isn't starting, which I also wouldn't expect, then I'd look elsewhere. But right now I like Howard as a value. You also have Drummond. The minutes aren't always there, but 55, he does give you upside. He doesn't need a lot of minutes to put up good fantasy games, as he showed last game against Charlotte. So that's it. Going with two superstars, Giannis, Embiid. Good value with Sadaransky, Bagley. Maybe some value here with Stanley Johnson, Dwight Howard. Still leaves you with over 5,000 left for the last two spots. That's it for the first look for DraftKings. Let's talk about FanDuel. All right, on FanDuel, I'm still looking to get to Giannis and Embiid, but we'll look at the other positions. We have Luka, who looks better on FanDuel. His price tag is still nice on FanDuel. I've been trying to get to him the last couple of slates. Hasn't really worked out, but maybe he goes off against this weak Lakers defense. Other options would definitely be like Drew Holiday is cheaper. You can go to Russell Westbrook at only 81. He looks a lot easier to get to. 6K range, yeah, Reggie Jackson cheaper, but still not one of my favorites. 5K range, you can look to Mike Conley potentially. 4K range, it drops off a bit. And then you still have Sadaransky at 36. So he's going to be the one value piece that I like on both sides from Washington, just because he's only point guard eligible on FanDuel, but 36. He'll allow you to pay up for the superstars on the slate. It looks like we'll get Paul George back sooner than later. He's probably heavily limited in his first couple of games back, but that's a good sign for the Clippers as they gear up for the playoffs if they're able to make it. Other options for shooting guard is definitely DeRozan at 79, Levine. Prefer DeRozan over Levine, just more consistent fantasy producer just because he's not just scoring dependent, mainly like Levine typically can be. Other options are Cade Cunningham at 77, Chris Middleton 75. You can go with Malik Monk if you wanted to. You have Caruso at 48. He's not been great at all since he's been back, but still at that price tag, you can make some shots and take some shots with him. Other guys would be Finney Smith at 45. And then you have Kobe White at 4K. Also does look pretty appealing just based on the value. And then DeSumo. He's been getting you a lot of minutes. Last couple of games, 36, 31. 32. This price tag at $3,600 is appealing enough to maybe take a shot, just because there's not a ton of great options here, unless you want to take a shot with like Talen Horton-Tucker. But getting to him would open up the door to get to some other value, but don't mind getting to Cade Cunningham right now at 77 at this price tag. Without Grant, he should be the main guy offensively. Small forward, I'll plug in Giannis here. Like him more than Durant at 10.8, like him more than 10K Harden. Other options are like DeRozan and Middleton. You can play them on both sides. We're not getting Kuzma again today, so you can maybe look to like Corey Kispert, who's been playing well. Last game, at least he shot the ball pretty well. They still have a lot of bodies on Washington, so I feel like if one of them is not having a good game, somebody else will just step up. But actually, I'll go plug in Stanley Johnson at 41, and then I'll plug in Giannis at power forward. Power forward for Giannis, just since Stanley Johnson is just small forward eligible. Other options, I guess you could look to Kristaps at 88, but his price tag is coming up on FanDuel. I'd rather maybe take a shot on like Tobias or Bagley at their price tags here. Other guys, 4K range, not much. Maybe you can look to Carmelo. 3K range, same deal, not much. Maybe George Niang, just with the minutes that he gets. And then at center, if we plug in Embiid, we're still left with $5,500, which is perfect. And you can still plug in Bagley if you wanted to have power forward. Vooch is still a good price tag at 76, so he makes some sense if you wanted to get to Vooch instead. But I'm still looking to get to these superstars in this Philly game. Embiid and Giannis, build around them. And that's about it for the video. If there's any updates, any changes, news that we get throughout the day, I'll post the updates on Twitter closer to lock. Best of luck tonight, and I will see you all next time.